So, hi everyone and welcome to this Open Fika number 15. And it's not only Christmas edition, as you can see behind me, it's also the very last Open Fika that we will do on Ekkono. So today we will try to wrap up this concept of Open Fika and also wrap up the year of 2020. I'm Linn Sidahl, Head of Business Development at Ekkono.
And I'm John Linden, CEO and co-founder of Ekkono.
How are you, John? Looking forward to Christmas?
Absolutely, best time of year.
But first, some reflection, of course. Christmas is traditionally the time when we reflect on what has happened during the year and what we have learned. So when I think about this year, I can only think about one word, and that is strange. Yes. This is probably the strangest year I ever experienced. It started off in a pretty normal fashion. We went to CES in Las Vegas and we did a trip in Silicon Valley in January, February, and everything seemed perfectly fine. And then when we came back, all of a sudden we learned that something small, like a virus that we can't even see with our own eyes, can actually change the world from one day to another. And my feeling was that was the turning point in January or in February, March. And when I look back on 1 year ago this day, when I was planning 2020, I was looking forward to trade shows, customer travels. We were going to do road shows both in Germany and Japan with partners and customers. But instead, I painted a green screen wall. I spent, I don't know how many hundreds of hours on iMovie, and I even bought a selfie lamp. So what happened?
Yeah, what happened? I think, as you say, strange is the word. Tough year. It's definitely been a tough year. There's no reason to shy away from that. And we couldn't foresee a pandemic like this. I mean, even when we were doing the planning for 2020, this was not even part of the agenda. So I remember my first close encounter with this was at Embedded World in the end of February, when everyone started doing the Corona bump. We made jokes about it, but the reality was that more than half of the attendees just disappeared from the trade show. So realized going back from that show that something is about to happen, something big is about to happen. And if you look at the customer side, we took some hits. I mean, a lot of our customers sent people home. They didn't have a process in place for how to work remotely. They froze all budgets that had to do with innovation or R&D that was not short-term business critical. So I would say in conclusion, we lost time. We lost critical time when it came to customer activities, both when it comes to customers that were about to start rolling out and really making good use of Smart IoT and edge machine learning, but also in terms of closing deals.
And I would also add in terms of getting new leads as well, because trade shows and those kind of events are extremely important for us and has been historically. So that was a challenge. But on that note, really, when looking back on this year, I think that many people can say that it was a bad year. It was maybe even a shitty year, to be honest. And I think that many people think that nothing happened during 2020 except Corona, of course. But for us, a lot actually did happen, and we were forced to think outside the box. We realized quite quickly when you came back from Embedded World that there will be no more trade shows. So what can we do instead? And we've engaged in numbers of different digital events. We have had our own Open Fikas like this. So what are your highlights on that for what we've done during the year?
That's a good summary. I mean, you have two options. Either you sit and wait, or you analyze the situation and do something about it. And I got to give credit to the organization. We sat down instantly and said, okay, so what is happening? How is it going to impact us? What can we do about it? And one thing that is kind of funny when you look at it is that we had to live as we learn. All of a sudden we had to be the digital native that we are. We have a virtual organization since birth. I mean, the 4 founders are even in different locations. We had to go online and make our tool, which is all software, much more available to customers. We had to do more of the things that we should do anyway. And on the marketing side, as you pointed out, we still have to find customers. But if you can't go on site to meet them, you have to find other ways. And we built pretty much everything around thought leadership. Giving is getting. That's part of the philosophy that by sharing experiences, insights, knowledge, and that kind of stuff, we can inspire customers to do more. So we started doing the open fikas like this one on business topics, technology topics, all kinds of stuff, writing white papers, doing articles. We did a lot of different things to kind of inspire people and get things going. Then on top of that, it did help that we did get a lot of good exposure. I mean, we got some really prominent awards this year.
Yes.
Red Herring Top 100 was a dream come true. It's something I've been wishing for. We got the German Innovation Award. We got the Klepa Innovation Award. We got a lot of good recognition and things like that that really helps in getting getting in touch with people. And then we had to find other ways. We went back to doing like accelerated programs like Plug and Play in Japan, where corporates are involved.
And when I hear you talk about 2020, it seems like actually a lot happened and a lot of good things happened. But yes, let's not forget that of course Corona impacted us. And as you said before, the biggest impact was probably that we lost 5 to 6 months of customer momentum, both on existing customers, rollouts, and gaining new leads. And what I think about from a perspective when I work a lot closely with the customer, it was also a challenge when they send everyone home. And I feel that it all started to kick off again after summer.
Yes.
It seemed like most big companies understood that we can't put this on hold for an entire year. We have to find new ways of working. And yes, as you said, we are a digital born company. We have all the structure in place for doing all meetings online, and we work on that basis from day to day. But most of our customers don't. So they needed 6 months to just learn how do we work. But I feel that autumn has been it's more of a new normal now that you can adapt to. But on the sales side, what are your biggest highlights?
Well, I mean, we had to instantly revise the sales target.
Yeah.
There was no way we could meet the expectations we had set up in the beginning of the year. We had just started up operations in Germany for the DACH region. I wish I could have been more on site to support that. And of course, we didn't get to where we wanted to when it comes to Germany. Nothing of this is lost. It's basically postponed. But looking at the highlights, one thing that was a very important win was our first win in Japan, where we actually won a customer that we had never met in person. And that is exceptionally useful when there is a pandemic.
Yeah.
So it really proved the evidence that it's possible. So that's one thing that I'm extremely proud of. And we also highlighted during the spring that what we call Ekkono Heroes, because there were a few who stood out. We awarded Thomas Viktorsson at Siemens Energy and Kent Walter at Sandvik, because they actually proceeded even under the circumstances and said, this is important, we're going to follow through. But like you point out, after the vacations, and I think this is pretty human psychology, that leading up to the vacation, people realize that, well, this is not going to go away. And then we can wait until after the summer holidays. Then they came back and realized it had not gone away, and it's still not going to go away. So then we have to adjust. So starting September, we started seeing a ramp up in activity, and it's been basically exponential since. And now we engage with customers at a larger extent than we did in the beginning of Q1.
Yeah, definitely. And also I've seen that the number of digital events that are also targeted towards startup and startup enterprise collaboration has really increased during the autumn. And I think that most big companies have also understood that they can't put work with startups on hold, because then startups will not exist after this pandemic, and we are the future with the future technology. But on that note, we actually also won some customers this year.
True.
Really won them. And typically we are a bit skeptical to challenges, and comparing startup in a competition is a little bit like comparing apple and pears. But we did win some cool challenges. Can you share some of them?
True. Yeah, you can win deals and you can really win
deals.
Exactly. And you're absolutely right. I think that it's hard to compete in entrepreneurship, but this is an excellent way for us to get in front of the right people, the decision makers, the high-level executives that want to be part of the jury, and we can get exposure and actually propose things that are relevant, solving real problems that they have. So we were involved in ABB's electrification challenge. We became a finalist in Westinghouse, Dragon's Den, and then we won, for example, Bombardier Hub 2020. We won Siemens Industrial IoT Challenge down in Germany. We won Husqvarna Sustainable Open, the very first one they ever done. So yeah, it's actually a way to win deals.
It is, and if we go forward from this, I did some research actually on what's been top of mind of society this year. So not only people in our industry, but everyone. And what are the most used words and what are the most Googled words? And I think that you can guess some of them. Of course, it was Corona, COVID-19, face mask, of course, lockdown, and election, obviously. That's been a big part of the year. But also climate change and sustainability has been top words that has been Googled in most countries in Europe this year. And I think that's interesting because I really think that this pandemic has opened the eyes to many people that we cannot keep on like we are doing right now. We cannot exploit nature resources like we do because then things like this happened. So, and for us at Ekkono, sustainability is in our DNA, and we've talked about this many times before, both in open fikas and in other circumstances. Right. But this year I feel that we've got really important acknowledgements that actually edge machine learning is a sustainability leap. Do you have any idea of what I'm thinking about?
Absolutely, I totally agree, and I think that the pandemic also forced us to see that it's possible to make a change. It accelerated change, and I'm really happy to see that sustainability has become top of mind. It's not something that is a nice to have. It's been one of the top 3 things when it comes to making decisions in companies. That's why the Husqvarna Sustainable Open is really a win that I'm extremely proud of. And I sincerely believe, and this is no way, shape or form greenwashing, I sincerely believe that Smart IoT is a big driving force for the next leap in sustainability. I usually illustrate it by saying that we have for decades been optimizing the general design of products to make them as energy efficient as possible. But it doesn't matter if you run them the same way, independent where they are and how they're being used. So the individual optimization of products, making an electric vehicle run as efficient as possible, making an air conditioner run optimally in Stockholm versus Kuala Lumpur, summer, winter, all these different things. When it comes to machinery, running everything more optimally has a big sustainability impact. And this is also where the companies, the product OEMs, real domain expertise becomes valuable. They can help their customers run in an optimal fashion, which will also extend product life of products. There are so many things that become a sustainable effect of actually making connected things smart.
Yeah, that was what I was thinking about, and that's definitely true. And I think that this year has showed that it is true, and that other companies also think so. So I think that's been one of the highlights, definitely. So I guess we could talk about crazy year of 2020 forever, and we probably will. I think that we will read about this in history books in the future.
For sure.
For sure. But history is history, and what happened has happened. We can't really change that. We can learn from it, but we can't really change it. So what we need to learn from what happened and be better prepared for the future. And of course, what we do best is prediction at Ekkono.
Yep.
So when you look into 2021, what do you see and what do you expect?
Yeah, I think first of all, Corona, COVID will not go away just anytime soon. We will live with this for a while. It's going to have an impact on our lives and the way we do business for still some time to come. What's interesting is that it's been around long enough to have a long-term impact on how we do things. We have changed permanently how we do meetings and how some meetings are better suited for doing online versus going on site.
Definitely.
So we're definitely going to see some long-term change. I hope, if I put on like a more biased perspective, that we will catch up on the deals that got postponed in 2021. Because if I look at where customers were 12 or 18 months ago, it's a world of a difference to where they are today when it comes to edge machine learning and smart IoT. Today, most companies actually have an edge strategy. They have an idea about the value of extending the relationship with the products to after they leave the factory. And those who don't are starting to catch up. So all we need is pretty much that we get some success stories of good rollouts where you can really show the value and everyone will follow. So I'm extremely confident when looking at the future, what is to come in what we do. So if all that falls into place, this is going to be a remarkable year.
That sounds great.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, I look forward to that. So in the beginning of this talk, I described 2020 as a strange year. If you were to describe 2020 in one word, and you can't use Corona or COVID-19,
okay,
what would it be?
Reflection.
Yeah.
I mean, things slowed down, gave some time for reflection, and we had to do reflection. We could not just continue as we've always done. So that might actually be a good summary of what was happening in 2020. It was time for reflection.
And what were the biggest lessons learned this year for you and for Ekkono?
Yeah, biggest lesson learned. I think one lesson learned is that you always have something new to learn.
That's true.
Going into this whole situation, I told everyone internally that keep calm. We've seen this before. I've professionally gone through the Millennium Crisis, the 9/11, the 2008 crisis. We've seen this happen. It's nothing strange. We will recover, and we're well prepared. So as long as we actually make decisions actively, we're in good shape. 2.5 months later, I had to admit I stand corrected. I've never seen anything like this. I mean, it was so strange in so many different ways. So I had to admit that well, we actually don't know. We just have to cope with the situation and make the best out of it. But change is normally something good. I mean, especially from an entrepreneurial perspective, status quo is the worst thing that can happen, because it's very hard to change a customer behavior or convince someone when everything is good and static. But when change is happening, that's a golden opportunity to introduce something new. So I think that's an opportunity for us.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. I think that's an interesting thought. So finally, of course, $1 million question that everyone wants to know. Will 2021 be a better year than 2020?
I hope so. I'm kind of the opinion that every year is better than the one before. Now going into this year, I had some pretty high expectations. I was making comparisons to the Roaring '20s and how this is going to be a remarkable year where everything was just pointing straight upwards to heaven. So hopefully it was just delayed. It was postponed 1 year. So we get the full effect of the Roaring 2020s in 2021, just like we're getting the Expo and the Olympics and everything else 1 year later. So that's what I'm hoping for. But I'm quite convinced that yes, this will definitely be a better year. 2021 will be a better year than 2020.
That sounds good. I think that's good closing words. So I think that we will wrap up this seminar.
Yeah.
And the very last Open Fika.
Yes.
So big Merry Christmas to you, Jon.
The same.
To everyone who has been watching these sessions during the year. Thank you to everyone who has asked questions and everything.
Happy holidays.
Yes.
Thank you.